I just wanted to share a few thoughts with you on your upcoming P3 examination this December. If we start off maybe by having a look at what was on the paper in June of this year, if I look at what the examiner looked at on that one, the first question, the case study, of course, we had a SWOT analysis for 20 marks. That was then picked up in part C, where you were asked to do a TOWS and sort of throw that back. Part B of the case study of the main 50-mark question was the Balogun-Hope-Haley change kaleidoscope. Look at what else the examiner did in June. We saw some pricing and also a lot of project management. The project management sort of spanned across a couple of questions. Benefits management, some comparison of package versus sort of specific bespoke software. You look at December last year, we saw Porter's Diamond, some regression and time series analysis, which I know everybody really loves, and the 6 I's, e-marketing. Now, you know, we can't just use that as an exact science, but clearly if the examiner put things on in June, that's unlikely, very unlikely to be examined this time. Things from last December, well maybe, but still I suppose the odds are a little bit against those. So if you ever think about what we might see this December, the more likely topics, from my point of view, I think you've got a few things. Porter's 5 forces, not seen that for a little while. The examiner likes to use some sort of analysis section for part A of the case study, and he might refer to that and go back to that this time. Pestel is a possibility as well. Pestel is very straightforward. Porter's 5 forces, you have to think about it a little bit more specifically and scientifically. Other things, well, the configuration and culture aspects of the syllabus I think are due for a revisit. Ken Garrett did a brilliant article a couple of years ago on those. Some of those have been examined, but there's still a lot of material in the article that can be explored a little bit further, and I think that the examiner may well do that this time. I think also we've seen a little bit of underemphasis in the last 2 or 3 sittings on financial analysis. And I think students will be wise to go back and look at some of the previous questions on that and brush up a little bit on those areas. There was also another article as well that was published not that long ago on value chains and value networks. I think the article was a little bit more subtle, and some of the examples and the illustrations were a little bit more complex. But this is an area that the examiner likes, and I think we're about due for a return to value chains, and that article might form a basis, might form a framework to that. Other possibilities, I think, Harmon's process strategy matrix, again, always a favourite with the examiner. There's other ways, obviously, that process change can be looked at as well through things like swimlane diagrams, and that maybe is something we may see this time. And we may also be due for a revisit on decision trees. The examiner's only put that on once, 2012 I think, since the change of syllabus a few years ago, and we may be due for that again. And I know students find that very awkward. Theoretically it's been covered, I know, at F5, but many students are exempted from that, and even if they weren't, they've often forgotten it. So I think we need to go back and have a fairly close and detailed look at that. It's not a complete list, obviously. There's all sorts of other things. You know, we always say the same thing. You need to have a wide range of knowledge when you go into the exam, but what we're trying to do is give you a few ideas in terms of things that are more likely that you should maybe make sure that you're good at. There are some new elements to the syllabus this time that were introduced in the December paper. We've got integrated reporting, IT controls. We've got stuff on the business change life cycle, POPIT model, and the boundaryless organisations. I think a sort of brief look at these topics from your material would be sensible, but I don't think I see that we'll see significant examination of that this time. Okay, overall, what do I always say to P3 students? Well, in order to pass, you need to do three things. One is to have some knowledge. People overcomplicate P3, and you don't need to stress about endless learning and focus on every detailed aspect of every model that we do. Focus on the main models, the main areas, know those well, and that core knowledge will help and support you. Second thing, you have to apply your knowledge. There's only ever 1 or 2 marks on the P3 paper for just telling the examiner about the models you're using. There is a little bit, but very, very little. All the marks really are for application. And you need to apply those models and focus on the so what question, the implication. Don't just tell the marker and the examiner what you can see in the question, tell them what that means and what's going to happen to the company as a result of that. Those implications are what make the difference between you getting 47 and 53 or 56 or 63, whatever, but the difference between a fail and a pass. Last thing on this paper, exam technique. You know, we always say that. I know you're limited on time. People always tend to run out of time on P3, but it's not just about time allocation. It's about learning to break the questions down and understand that the examiner on P3 is only ever asking you to write on a particular topic or area for maybe 3 or 4 marks. You know, just a Porter's 5 forces question, well, you've got 5 forces. 15 marks, you can break it down. It's a mark or 2 for an introduction, a mark or 2 for a conclusion. If you learn to look at questions and break them down into their constituent parts, then that makes a huge difference and makes your questions, more precisely your answers, far more focused. So that's about all I've got to say. Wish you very, very good luck in December. P3 is not a tough exam if you prepare properly. So hopefully everybody will do that and we'll see a good result. Okay, best wishes to you. Thank you.